Welcome to the MCU tier list, the updated version this time around. Before we get started, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. Check out some of my other videos. We just finished up Hawkeye. It's on the channel. All 6 episodes, reactions or reaction highlights, they're all on the channel, so check that out. For Marvel fans, 2021 was a pretty good year. As Marvel fans, you guys will agree that we were fed. The MCU fed us very nicely. We got a lot of new projects this year. This was the first year that we got Disney Plus Marvel shows, long form content in terms of Marvel, and we got a bunch of good movies coming out in theaters that were really enjoyable. So I thought, hey, since the year is ending and Christmas just passed and it's the holiday season, New Year's still to come, let's update our MCU tier list. Now, for those of you who are watching this video for the first time, this is an updated version of my MCU tier list. A few months ago, back in like March, I think, just before the release of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I decided to do an MCU tier list, so every single movie up to WandaVision was put in a tier list. Here's the tier list. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Here's the tier list I recreated on the tier list thing. This is basically what it looked like at the end of that first part video. If you want to hear my explanations of why things go where they go check out part 1. But today we're going to be adding to this tier list, starting off with Falcon and the Winter Soldier and ending with Spiderman No Way Home. Let's just quickly go through the categories that we have over here. First of all, Marvelous. That's basically the top tier, the most elite movies, Marvelous. Then we have Good. You know, they're not top tier, but they're pretty good films in my opinion. They're very solid, but they're not the elite, you know what I mean? Then we have Meh. Meh are movies that are basically like, they're not the top tier, they're not obviously the good ones, they're just meh kinda. They're fun at times, they have good things about them, but they're just meh, honestly. And then we have the worst category by the name of Get Dusted. These are movies, in my opinion, also, I gotta point this out, this is my tier list, so basically everything that I'm gonna say here is my own opinion, so whenever I put this tier list together, again, my opinion of what I liked and what I didn't like and what I thought was good and everything. So the Get Dusted category is basically the worst MCU project so far, in my opinion. All of these projects coming up, I did either reviews or reactions to on the channel since they came out this year, and I started doing TV show reactions and stuff like that. So you can find out my full reviews and, again, reactions to every single one of these projects we're going to talk about on the channel. Okay, so first up, since we're going by release date, we have Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And oh boy, we're going to start off with a little bit of a rant. And that is because this was my most anticipated project of Phase 4. Saying that now at the end of 2021, after watching everything that we have seen, it's kind of funny for me to say that. But if you go back and watch my trailer reactions about this show and me talking about this show, in the early stages, I said how this was my most anticipated project out of the entire Phase 4. Yes, out of the whole Phase 4, the most I was looking forward to when it was first announced was Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now you might ask, why is that? Well, that's because I'm a big fan of the Captain America stories. Captain America the Winter Soldier being my top tier MCU film, my favorite. Might have got dethroned in 2021, maybe, but I love that movie. And I love the Captain America stories, and I'm a big fan of the Winter Soldier, played by Sebastian Stan. And him and Anthony Mackie, who plays the Falcon, have great chemistry together off camera and on camera. So there was a lot to like about this project heading into it. How I'm going to summarize all of this with one sentence was, this show had a lot of untapped potential. I had high hopes for this. Remember, this is my tier list, right? So I had high hopes for this show. Had a lot of expectations for it, and I'm not gonna lie to you, most of them were not met. Now, the number one thing that I really like about the show was that this show was going to be basically the arc that Sam had to go through to become Captain America. The only reason this show exists, this one season, is to give Sam that arc to becoming Captain America. I like the heavy subject matter that they dealt with in this show. Sam being a black man in America, taking on the mantle of Captain America. I thought that was handled really well. However, outside of that arc, that one arc out of the whole show that we have to cover, I mean, it is the main arc, but there's other things going on in the show. That one arc got the most spotlight ever, and everything else just fell behind. So I felt like the storytelling was uneven. And like I said earlier, big fan of the Winter Soldier, Sebastian Stan, just a big fan of the character. Coming into the show, what I was looking forward to was seeing him. And I'm not gonna lie to you, the way they utilized him in the show left me disappointed. I thought this was going to be like a 50-50 split in terms of importance. The show is called Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But once the show started and you realized that it's about Sam's arc, I was like, okay, Sam's going to get a little bit more of importance. But Bucky just fell behind in terms of importance to the story. He was just there. The best example of them not utilizing him at all was one of the final scenes in the last episode. Bucky had his whole arc going on where, the redemption thing, and he had to, for example, tell that old man that he killed his son, right? And when we first learned that in the first episode, we were like, this is going to be a heartbreaking scene. This is going to be like a very, very big scene here for him. And in the final episode, that one big thing that he had to do in this entire season was they only did it for like 20 seconds, and he was out of there. That was it. And I think me and a lot of fans felt extremely underwhelmed when we saw that scene. We were like, okay, well, that's it? You're just going to tell him and leave? Nothing more? So that scene alone was the perfect example to show you how much the writers and the creators were like, we're gonna push him down. And also the Flag Smashers, extremely forgettable villains. They never got to the point, I think, where the show wanted them to get. Intriguing in like the first 2 episodes, but then fell off hard for the rest of the show. Very, very forgettable. Zemo was in the show, and like now, all the way in December, just thinking about this show, I'm thinking, why was Zemo there? He wore his purple mask like once. So, like, you see, right, Sam had a great time in this show. Got a whole new suit, got the shield, got the big moments in this show. But then everything else behind him just fell behind hard. I really enjoyed this show when it was happening. I had a blast with it. But as the year keeps going and I keep thinking about the show more and more, it's December now. This show ended in, May or late April? That doesn't matter. The more I keep thinking about the show, the more I get upset about it, about how much they could have done and they didn't do. And I don't know whether that's because of the pandemic and things being shut down. Yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I was really, really hoping this was going to be really, really good. And it is. It's good. But I was really hoping I could have put this in the marvelous category. I thought the show had this much potential. And the funny thing is, for me, it is teetering on the line of meh and good. Next up, we have Loki. Oh my god. This Loki was low-key amazing. This show was so good. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the marvelous category. This show was really, really good. Big surprise for me because going into this show, I was never like a big Loki fan. It's not that I hated him. I just was never like a huge fan of it. I know Loki has a huge fan base, especially Tom Hiddleston's Loki had a huge fan base. I just never saw the appeal until I watched this show, Loki, and I was like, yep, I'm fully on board. I'm a Loki fan now. This show did so many great things, from the sci-fi story with the TVA and everything. The addition of Mobius, Owen Wilson's character, was fantastic. Sylvie, played by Sophia DiMartino, she was great also. Tom Hiddleston as Loki, I finally see the appeal. I'm like, yeah, this guy's amazing. I want to see more of him. And the show also has big implications for the future of the MCU with the introduction of Kang there at the end. The one negative, actually, since we're talking about the end of this show, the one negative I'm going to give about this show is that the final left me a little bit underwhelmed. It was just like this huge exposition dump, this huge conversation with Kang, where he was like, all right, let me explain everything to you, where we just sit and I literally tell you everything. That is my biggest problem with pretty much all of the Disney Plus shows. They're too short, 6 episodes. WandaVision had 9 episodes. What If had 9 episodes. But like most of them 6 episodes too short. You're doing too much, and you're saving too much for the end where you're just trying to finish it off hella quickly. Everything feels rushed at the end. I'm not a huge fan of any of the finals, really, where I feel like most of these shows could have used more time. Also, Loki, banger soundtrack. If you know me, you know I'm a huge fan of really good movie scores or TV show soundtracks. Really, really good. So Loki was a huge surprise. It deserves to be in the Marvelous category, in my opinion. The show was a lot of fun. So now we're moving on to Black Widow. Scarlett Johansson, Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, finally got her own movie. Unfortunately, too late. This movie offered pretty much nothing new to the MCU. It gave this vibe that it was going to tell us something about Natasha that we never knew before. It's some information that we really needed to know about her. And then it did not deliver on any of that. Left the movie being like, okay, well, I feel like I know the exact same information that I knew about her when I walked into the movie. Okay, I got to meet her family, which was actually the best part. Florence Pugh and David Harbour were the best parts of this movie. Scarlett Johansson does her thing as Natasha Romanoff. It just doesn't offer anything new to the MCU. It's just like a fun action movie that I think if it came out like many phases ago, like maybe 2 phases ago now, it would have been like really, really good and super entertaining. But where we are now in the MCU, this movie was just like there. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in the meh category. It's fun. It's a fun action movie with some good performances, but it just doesn't go beyond just being some spy action movie that's not even all that unique, you know? Alright, so now moving on to the first animated MCU show called What If. This is a really cool concept, and I'm happy that they're moving forward with it, where we're going to get season 2, and potentially we're going to get more seasons, you know, in the future, because we can do so many different what if scenarios. However, season 1 is going to have to go in the Get Dusted category. I'm sorry, it's going to have to go in the Get Dusted category. This show had 9 episodes, 9 different what if scenarios. Actually, 8 different what if scenarios, and the 9th one was kind of the Watcher teaming everybody up and they had to take on Ultron. Out of the 9 episodes, I would say I really liked only 2 of them, maybe 3. I know 2 of them were really good, really stood out to me. That was the Doctor Strange episode and the 8th episode where Ultron first started winning before the final episode. Those 2 episodes were really, really good, had me hooked. The biggest problem with the show is that it's, again, too short in terms of episode lengths. You can't really get into the what-if scenarios because they move so quickly. It's snack bite content, and before you know it, the episode's already over and we're moving on to a different what-if scenario. Also, 8 different what-if scenarios, and most of the time I was left thinking, this is the best you could come up with for a what-if scenario? Party Thor? Also, like, it might have implications. I mean, did you see that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness trailer, Doctor Strange 2? There's hints to that Doctor Strange episode I just talked about from What If. So it could have some implications to the future of the MCU. However, this entire first season, there's like 2 episodes that I really enjoyed. All the other ones I kind of thought, okay, just snack bite things that you forget about like as soon as they're over. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the Get Dusted category. Although I am happy that there's another season of this coming, because if they make new seasons every year and they get more and more creative with the what if scenarios, it's just something fun. But compared to everything else, okay, next up we have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which, again, another big surprise like Loki for me is going to go ahead and go in the Marvelous category. This movie was so much fun and honestly has the best action in the MCU. Those fight scenes were, clean. So good. So entertaining. This film was really entertaining. I had a really good time of it watching it. Simu Liu as the next Marvel hero up. Great introduction to him. Looking forward to see what we do in the future. Tony Leung actually stole the show for me as the villain, the dad. The way he operated those rings were really cool. His motivation was really cool. He was a great villain. Automatically goes into the top tier of MCU villains. So I think if your movie has a really good villain, it doesn't really matter how good your hero is. Although this movie has a great hero. I think it doesn't really matter how good your hero is. If the villain's really good, he could carry the movie himself. Because the hero will always look cool. The hero will always win the fight and look cool. But like if his opposite, who's supposed to lose, really good, where the audience might not want him to lose, that's when you start to create a very good movie. But yeah, man, great performances, great visual effects, and just brilliant action sequences. Best action sequences in my, or at least best fight scenes in my opinion in the MCU. Yeah, no, top tier, marvelous. Go ahead. Next up on the list is Eternals, a film that got absolutely destroyed by critics. On Rotten Tomatoes, this is the worst rated MCU movie. And I don't know whether it deserves it. When I watched it in theaters, if you go back and watch my Eternals review, I said how I had a really good time with this movie. This movie has some really good things about it. First of all, it looks really nice. Chloe Zhao did her thing on this one. And I really like the Eternals and getting to know the Eternals as a group. I want to see more of them in the future. I thought every actor who played an Eternal did a great job. And again, the main cast, the Eternals, were really good. Where the movie faults is it tries to do way too much. The Celestial storyline combined with the Deviant storyline, which is like the main story, it falls completely flat, very forgettable. But, like, again, the Eternals themselves are really entertaining and really carry the movie. So I actually had a really good time watching this film. However, I'm going to go ahead and put this movie in the meh category. And now I know I said I had a really good time watching this movie, but this is something I want to take into account when it comes to this movie. This movie came out in November. It is now almost the end of December. And I feel like everybody talked about this movie for, like, a week, maybe not even a week, maybe like 3 days. The opening weekend, people talked about it when they went to go see it, and then everybody forgot about this movie. Even Marvel Studios forgot about this movie. Marvel had like Hawkeye and Spiderman to promote after that, but it just feels like everybody forgot the fact that Eternals came out this year and came out a month ago. So that's just something I want to take into account, that I'm actually part of the audience that kind of forgot about Eternals after I saw it, although I had a really good time that opening weekend. And maybe that's because I started focusing on Spider-Man and Hawkeye. But Eternals, as fun as it was the one and only time I've seen it, it just seems to be forgettable for most people, including myself. So it's going to go in the meh category, and I do not think this is the worst Marvel project. I'm going to keep saying that. I don't know what critics were on when they rated it like that. Next up on the list, we have Hawkeye, the show that literally ended like 2 days ago. Did Hawkeye get home for Christmas? The answer to that question is yes. I'm a little bit conflicted on this show, and conflicted in like a good way. You know how I said Falcon and the Winter Soldier is teetering on the line of being good or meh? Well, Hawkeye's teetering on the line of being marvelous and good. That is because of the final. I said this earlier, my biggest problem with the MCU Disney Plus shows is their finals. None of them feel like they fully land and feel really satisfying, including this one. I brought up this problem like mid-season. I was like, listen, we have 2 episodes left and you are setting up so many mysteries. How are you going to wrap this up in 1 episode? And guess what? Not smoothly, because the 6th episode was a mixed bag. There was a lot that I enjoyed about that episode, but on the storytelling front, there was a lot that was just rushed through. Maya, Echo, right? She's getting her own show called Echo on Disney+. And this show was supposed to set her up to be this next character that we're supposed to be excited for. And this show did a very poor job of that, in my opinion. I do not care about the Echo show because they went nowhere with Maya. They handled her poorly. There's time she showed up in like the 3rd episode. That was her big introduction. And then she was used very sparingly throughout till the 6th episode. And actually, she wasn't even there for majority of the 6th episode. There's like a thing with her and Kazi. What kind of relationship do her and Kazi have? Are they boyfriend and girlfriend? Or are they like related or something? No clarification on what kind of relationship they have. I want to assume that they were a couple, but however, I did really enjoy this show when it was happening. The great chemistry between Jeremy Renner and Haley Steinfeld really carried this show. Kate Bishop is a great character. Looking forward to seeing more of her in the future. The addition of Yelena in the last 2 episodes was really cool. You saw the dynamic between Kate Bishop and Yelena and what could happen in the future between them. And it's set during the holiday season. I love the holiday season. Also, it's street level Marvel, which is my favorite Marvel. The stuff that's happening in space and the TVA, that's all fun. But what I really like is the street level Marvel, like where the hero can get hurt and stuff like that. And Hawkeye gets hurt in this show. They're in New York City doing street level Marvel stuff. So holiday, street level Marvel, great duo between Kate Bishop and Hawkeye. Makes this a really entertaining show. I just wish that final really satisfied me. It feels like a really mixed bag. But for now, I'm going to leave this in the Marvelous category because this show was really fun. Alright, so the last project to come out in 2021 from Marvel was probably the biggest one ever, and that is Spider-Man No Way Home. And I'm just going to save the time and go ahead and put this in the Marvelous category. Listen, earlier I said how Captain America the Winter Soldier is my favorite MCU movie, and it potentially was dethroned this year. And that is because Spider-Man No Way Home exists. This movie was so unbelievably good. Oh my god, it was so good. The theater experience alone. Mwah. Listen, if you want to hear me geek out about this movie more, I have like a 40-minute spoiler review for this movie where I dive into it and geek out about it. You can check that out on the channel. But man, this movie had so much goodness in it, bro. It's going in the Marvelous category for, first of all, giving us Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, all on screen together for a very long time, doing cool Peter Parker shit, doing cool Spider-Man shit. This movie is really good, super entertaining. It deserves to be in the Marvelous category. Also, big fan of Daredevil, so Charlie Cox returning as Daredevil, that's the other reason it deserves to be in the Marvelous category. I just listed you 2 reasons alone. 3 Spider-Man having fun, and Daredevil, small cameo. Didn't even mention Willem Dafoe's great performance, the super dark tone of this movie and how it shifts where Spider-Man is going in the MCU. Did not mention any of that, but you already knew that. This movie is so good and a great way to end the year. So much hype for this movie in 2021. We were begging for a trailer, for a poster, and all of it was worth it because this movie is really good. So here at the end, this is what our MCU tier list looks like with the additions of projects from Falcon and the Winter Soldier to Spider-Man No Way Home. There's some things that I could move around. Like I said, Falcon and the Winter Soldier teetering on the line of man good, Hawkeye teetering on the line of marvelous and good. What would you have moved around? Let me know down in the comments. Let me know down in the comments what your tier list would look like. This was really fun. The MCU, Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios, and Sony even have really fed us this year in terms of content. This was the first year of the Disney Plus shows, and I think it was a very successful year in terms of that. I'm looking forward to more Disney Plus shows where we get to explore more characters. I just think the main problem with the Disney Plus shows is that they're too short. 6 episodes, I think they should already have established that 6 episodes is too short, man. I'm sorry. You build up all this mystery through 5 episodes in most of these shows, and then you just dump everything into the last episode where it all feels messy. Honestly, none of the finals, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I mean, what if it's a bit of an exception because it's animated and it's done a little differently. Loki, Hawkeye, what else am I missing? Am I missing any other shows? Whatever. I don't know if I'm missing any other shows. But honestly, none of those finals really stick out as really good finals. There's some good finals and some mixed feelings on some finals. But man, like if you're going to finish off like a mini series or even a season, come on, give us some iconic finals here. The whole point of these Disney Plus shows is that you get to spend more time with the characters. And somehow we get to spend more time with the characters, learn more information, get more story, but at the same time not get more story where we have to rush everything at the end. I'm really grateful for what we got. We got a very entertaining year, 2022. Right now I can't think what's coming next. I think Doctor Strange is next, which is in May, so we might have a big break here. Maybe I'm thinking next year could be DC's year, honestly. The Batman coming out, the Flash movie coming out. So 2022 could be DC's year here. But, you know, I'm not too sure what's coming out off the top of my head, what's coming out for the MCU in 2022. So we'll see. And at the end of 2022, we will update this list, obviously. That was me updating my tier list with the remaining 2021 Marvel slate that I had to add here. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about my tier list. Let's have a discussion about that. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. Check out some of my other videos. I hope you guys are having a good time right now. You know, it's the holiday season. The holiday season's always great. So yeah, again, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.